All right, positional isometrics for hip internal rotation. First thing I'm going to do is explain what positional isometrics are and why we do them, right? So let's just say, I'll use my wrist as an example, right? So this is my active range, this is my passive range. There's about a 10 or 15 degree difference between that. And the rule of thumb, 10 to 15 degrees is right. Sometimes you'll have a joint where you've got a much bigger than 10 to 15 degree difference between your active and passive range. And what we use these positional isometrics for is to close that gap, because when that gap is too big, you've got too much of a range that you don't have control over. Your nervous system then gets a bit worried about that, creates tightness, creates pain, that type of thing. So I'm going to use the wrist as an example as well. Again, imagine that 90 degrees is what I can passively get to, but I can only actively get to 45 degrees. So this is my active range, but then I can passively push it down. That's too big a range to not have control over, but that I can actually get into. So what I would actually do is I would get to the end of my active range, pull it down about 10 or 15 degrees, hold still, and then create tension at this point. So that's literally what we're going to be doing with your hip internal rotation. I'm going to give you two options for this. Find whichever one use whichever one you find the most comfortable. So we're going to do first of all in a 90-90 position. We're going to get into the 90-90 position, and we're going to do internal rotation of this back leg. So as I rotate this way, if I lift my foot up so I can rotate internally, I'm now within active range. As I rotate my hips back towards this back leg, I now can't get it off. If I come a little bit further, I can. So this now is the end of my active range. I can continue to rotate my hips back, but now I can't go back any further. So now I've got to the end of my passive range. For me, that's about 10 or 15 degrees. For you, what I want you to do is find the end of your active range. So now I can't lift up. If I move forward, I can. So find the end of that active range, and then just push the hips back about 10 or 15 degrees and stop there. This is where you're going to be doing your work. At this point, you're going to stay nice and still. Brace your core, don't let anything move. And you're going to do a pales contraction and then a rails contraction. So pales is going to be pushing the ankle into the floor. So you're trying to rotate the leg that way. Obviously it won't move because there's a floor in the way. So you're going to drive down. So you're going to brace your core, and you're going to drive down at whatever the prescribed time is in your program. It'll either be probably 30 seconds or 15 seconds depending on the intensity. So assuming we're doing, say, 30 seconds, I want you to hold nice and still, use your hands on the floor, and then start driving that foot into the floor. Just gradually build up 10, 20%, 30, 40, 50, 60%. So now I'm just driving down here at about 60% effort, but I'm trying to rotate my leg. So you're going to do that for 30 seconds. Once that 30 seconds is up, and I'm still pushing down at the moment, you're going to try to reverse direction. So you're going to use everything on the hip here to try to lift this foot off. So once again, you're trying to rotate the hip this way, or the leg that way in the hip. So you're lifting up. Once again, it won't move because you're past your active range, and that's okay. So it's 30 seconds down, 30 seconds up. Once that's done, chill, relax. When you feel like you're ready to do another set, do it. So that might take 20 seconds, it might take 2 minutes to relax and feel like you've recovered enough to do another rep. So that's the 90-90 version. And now we're going to do what's called a bear sit version. So this is a bear sit. So you literally sit, legs up, shins at about parallel. So to get to internal rotation, I'll do my right leg again. To internal rotation, all I do is I use my hip to come in. So that's the end of my active range. I can now push a little bit further. That's my passive range. Make sure that as I do this, your whole hip doesn't. So make sure that your hips stay on the floor. Active, passive. same thing, there's only about a 10 or 15 degree difference for me. But for you, you would be able to push more than that, probably 10 to 15 degrees. You're probably getting 20, 25 degrees. So get to the end of your active range, and then just push it down about 10 or 15 degrees. Hold still. And then what you're going to do is, for your first rail, your pails, your first one, is you're going to push against your hand. So you'll be using everything on the outside of the hip to pull against the hand for 30 seconds, and then drive this way for another 30 seconds, trying to pull a little bit more that way. Once that 30 seconds is up each way, hold still, rest, recover, and go again. So that's your positional isometrics. Find the end of your active range, push about 10 or 15 degrees, hold still, 30 seconds pails, 30 seconds rails. As your program progresses, you'll be getting up to sort of 15 seconds at 100%. Good luck, have fun. If you have any questions, please obviously let me know.